Hey everybody, today in this video we'll be reviewing the Star Trek The Official Starships Collection Romulan Science Vessel. Of course, the Romulans liked the color green, didn't they? The Romulan science ship shared many design characteristics with the Romulan vessels of the era. It had a predatory bird-like appearance and the familiar dark green paint scheme. The head section of the science ship was its most obvious identifying feature, as it was differed from the helmet-shaped head that was common to most other Romulan vessels at the time. A vessel of the mid-24th century, used to test new interface cloaking device. Romulans had a superiority complex, which is quite common today in this century. According to Miles O'Brien, the Romulans claimed to have invented all pieces of technology in existence before every other species. And here we have a picture of the Enterprise. The Enterprise D rushed to help a Romulan science vessel in 2368 when it picked up a transmission that its warp core was about to breach. At this point in history, relations with the Romulans were strained, to say the least, but Captain Picard's crew did not hesitate to try to save the vessel's crew. Being a benevolent, utopic society, I would think so. That's a good picture, isn't it? Let's see here. The Romulan science vessel had feather-like etchings on its hull and small inset areas cut into the top of the wings. These revealed complex systems which could have been sensor or communication systems. With just seconds to spare, the away team managed to manually eject the unstable warp core out of a hatch behind the head of the vessel, when it then exploded harmlessly in space. While LaForge was out of phase with normal matter, he was able to push his body through normally solid objects. He used this ability to look inside a console on the Romulan ship, where he discovered the prototype molecular phase inverter. After the science ship had jettisoned its warp core, it was without power, so the Enterprise D supplied it with energy through a power transfer beam. They should call it a Tesla beam. The Romulans then attempted to stop the Starfleet crew from discovering their interface technology by sending muons back up the transfer beam. This was a LaForge Row episode, for the most part. The Romulan's graviton field generator had depolarized in the initial explosion. It could not be repaired, so LaForge and Rowe tried to beam back to the Enterprise D with it. Unfortunately, leaking chronoton particles mixed with the transporter beam caused them to disappear when they became out of phase with normal matter. You gotta love the science speak. An away team found that the science vessel had suffered a forced chamber explosion in its resonator coil, which had caused massive damage. Commander Riker worked with Mirok and Varel, the two most senior members of the surviving crew, to repair the vessel. This was the episode where Geordi and Ensign Rowe went out of phase. They disappeared. Nobody could see them except for them and one Romulan who had went out of phase also. Do you remember that episode? They prepared Geordi's and Ensign Rowe's funeral. And this was designed by the great Rick Sternbach. He's on Facebook. Check him out. Lately he's been digging up stuff that he's done in the past in the STTNG era. The Romulan science vessel was created fairly easily by changing the head of the existing Romulan scout ship and adding a semicircular piece to the tail. Yeah, looks familiar, doesn't it? There's that nacelle that the warbirds like to have on them. What's this? After its outing as the Romulan science vessel, the studio model was repainted and used as a Nassari starship in Star Trek Voyager. Oh. Gotta reuse to save money and time. Romulan vessels. The Deredex class warbird, which made up the majority of the Romulan fleet in the 24th century, is one of the long line of Romulan vessels that dated back thousands of years. I was always undecided about that design. I guess I like it. Okay, I mean, but look at this. Now, people can talk about Enterprise all they want, but Enterprise had some really gorgeous designs. The first Romulan vessel Starfleet encountered was a bird of prey, which was equipped with a primitive cloaking device and technology that reflected sensors. That's a good design. By 2266, the Romulans improved the design of their cloaking device and used a new prototype bird of prey to mount as an assault on Federation outposts. That's from the TOS era. I'm sure that's the high def HD version. Now this is interesting. In the 4th century, a group of Vulcans left their homeworld in sublight generational ships. Their odyssey lasted for centuries, and in that time they traveled about 74 light years before settling on the second planet of what became known as the Romulan system. And that is how Vulcans and Romulans are so closely related. They were originally Vulcans. During the 24th century, the Romulans started using artificial quantum singularities, mini black holes, as a power source. The reactor, shown in red, looks orange to me, distributed plasma, shown in orange. Well, on this camera, the dark orange in the magazine is actually red. Distributed plasma, shown in orange, was shown yellow on this camera, to the warp nacelles, and power, shown in purple, which is correct in this camera, the color, to all ship systems. Power substations around the ship provided a redundant backup power feed in case of emergencies. Wow, cool. The quantum singularity engine operated by compressing matter into an incredibly dense stream of energy, which was then focused through dilithium chambers to the warp nacelles or power systems. There's the mini black hole in there. Plasma junction to warp engines. Deuterium injector. The arrangement of Romulan engines was similar to those in Starfleet ships. A central chamber was fed by matter streams and power in the form of a superheated superheated plasma was then distributed to various systems. The artificial singularity could be accessed from the engineering section exactly like the matter-antimatter chamber on a Starfleet vessel. And it was seen on screen in just that one episode, the next phase on Star Trek The Next Generation. I don't know why it says VOY up there, Voyager. Anyway, that'll be the next ship, the SS Emmett. I hope I pronounced that right. So let's take a look at this ship. And About the same as the scout ship. Let's get some focus going on here. There we go. The scout ship had some what appeared to be windows in it. Not a lot of Aztecing, but I mean the paint application is good. So far, you need to see my fingerprint there. I like these designs because they're simple. I don't know why you would have any bare access panels here, but maybe they need cooling. You know, open to space for cooling purposes. And once again, thank you, eaglemoss, for putting in the clear color tinted pieces. That means a lot to me. Rick Sternbach is still busy today designing for Star Trek. Of course, it's Discovery nowadays, I do believe. And here is a comparison between the two. Looking from the top, yeah, they just added that half moon on the back, and the two headpieces are completely different. I like this the scout ship headpiece better. I remember seeing this on that episode about the defector on the Next Generation, and I remember seeing this and I said, down there is a Romulan design I like, because all we'd seen before that was the that huge warbird clamshell type vehicle. And as you can see, there are like what looks like, you know, windows, screens. Star Trek didn't have a lot of windows on their bridge anyway, but they did on their shuttles. Let's get this thing to focus. But basically, they're the same, nearly exactly the same, except for the head and that half moon piece on the back. I'll take it. Where else are you going to get different designs like this other than eaglemoss? Thanks for watching. More videos to come. Thanks for subscribing.